Good morning and welcome back to the Rise and Shine podcast. I am your host, Haylee Jacob. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm so excited. If you are new to this channel, welcome. I am a Christian podcaster and we talk about faith and lifestyle and really just like try to talk about life through the Christian worldview, through a Christian lens, talking about the fun things about life, talking about the difficult things about life, and all from a Christian worldview. I usually try to include some scripture what I'm talking about. So welcome if this is your first time. We are going to discuss a topic that I know about deeply and intimately. And I think it's something that we all face these days. We're going to talk about burnout. And we'll be talking about what burnout is, how to identify if you are starting to feel burnt out, and how to avoid it and heal from it if you are experiencing burnout. So, grab your coffee, find your comfiest chair, and let's rise. So, a couple weeks ago, about 2 weeks ago, I guess, I got the privilege to return to my alma mater, to return to my undergraduate school, Baptist University, and talk to the music educators, our future music educators at the university. So, I got to go and be a speaker. It was honestly so much fun. And it's something that I'm really passionate about is mentoring and teaching teachers. I mean, of course, I'm a teacher. I love teaching and I love teaching students, but something that like I think God has really put on my heart is to teach and mentor teachers as well. I love it when they come and ask me questions about education or questions about the voice or questions on how to teach this certain type of student. That is just something that I love, or they come with to me with like problems, personal problems that involve teaching. I love it. I love mentoring teachers. I guess I just love mentoring. I think that's why I'm a teacher, something I love. Anyway, but I was talking to them. The lecture was about their opportunities as a music educator that aren't necessarily in the um, public school teaching classroom. So that's what my lecture was about. And I talked to them about my experiences and kind of how I got to where I am. I am currently in the classroom, but I didn't start out that way. And I kind of, even when I was getting my degree, I had these moments and kind of this second guessing myself, like, do I really want to be in the classroom? And so when I graduated, I actually explored a lot of different types of jobs, a lot of different um, areas that I think still some were not teaching, but a lot of them were still teaching just in a different way. And so I was talking to them about all their opportunities. And it got to the topic where I was talking about all my different jobs that I had all at once because I wasn't teaching. I wasn't a full-time teacher in a classroom, so I had to make money somehow. And there was one point, not long after graduating, that I was working 4 or 5 jobs all at once. And it was becoming a lot. And I was younger then. It was almost, it was probably like 8 years ago, I guess. It's just becoming to get like it was a lot. I was getting sick. My work in each job was not the best I could do because I was so spread thin. I wasn't giving my best to the students that I did have. So tired. I was tired all the time. I didn't enjoy like my rest. I didn't have rest. Really affecting me. It got to the point where I got so sick that like it was affecting my body. I could not there was a moment where I could not turn my head from side to side. Whatever was going on in my body, my neck was so messed up that I could not. I remember like doing my sub job and it was like concert time because I was subbing at the time and for a high school choir director. So I kind of was doing full time, but it was sub pay. Um, and so I was getting ready for this concert and I was having to look under the piano for something. I think I was unlocking the piano and I couldn't really do it because I couldn't move my head. I literally, like, when someone would talk to me, I would have to move my whole body to turn and see them. It was that bad. And so I was telling them, I didn't get into like all of that, but I was telling them just about my different experiences. And one student, she was this, I think she was the only senior in the group. So she is the one getting ready to go out into the world. And she was asking some really great questions. She asked, how did you avoid burnout? Because even after that time of my life, I really like, I still am that type of person that I kind of take on a lot all at once. And my husband, sees it and he's like, maybe you need to slow down. I'm like, no, 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 I'm fine. But she asked me, how do you avoid burnout? And my answer was, I didn't. I did not avoid burnout. I was so burnt out, like I said, that my body took the hit. It wasn't just like mental fatigue, it was my body, to the point where I had to go to the doctor for not being able to move my head on my neck. That's how burnt out I was. And so I am no stranger to the idea of burnout. I have experienced it severely firsthand. And so, as we're talking about this today, I want you to know that I'm coming from a place of like, I've experienced this and it's terrible. And I'm here to support you. And if you haven't experienced burnout, here's how to avoid it, because you do not want to get to this place. It is not healthy. It is not good as a Christian to burn yourself out, because that's not what we're called to do. And it can affect our ministry as well. So let's talk about what burnout is. What is burnout? Okay. Burnout is literally kind of what it sounds like. It is when you keep going and going and going, that you're burning all of your energy. You're not replenishing yourself. You're not replenishing. You're not resting so that your body can recuperate. You're just going, 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 burning your energy, burning all your strength, all your mental faculties, until you wear yourself out and you can't go anymore. You just go and go and go and go and go until you can't. And it's like, think of it like literally a candle burnout. When you let a candle burn all the way down to the end of the wick, and then once the wick is done, you can't burn that candle anymore. It will extinguish itself, and then you can't relight it. Impossible to light that candle again. Out whether it's on one specific thing that you're burning yourself out on, or just kind of like life in general, you could be feeling empty, exhausted. You could be feeling overwhelmed, unmotivated. That's what burnout creates in you. It creates this sense of just like emptiness, of overwhelm, and just like, I can't do this anymore, but I don't know what else to do. Like feeling lost. And like you've lost all ability to continue doing that thing, whether it's your job or whether it's like outside commitments, or any other activity, like anything. You could get burnt out literally on anything. So helpguide.org says this. This is how it defines burnout. Burnout is a state of emotional, physical, and mental exhaustion caused by excessive and prolonged stress. Excessive and prolonged stress. It occurs when you feel overwhelmed, emotionally drained, and unable to meet constant demands. As the stress continues, you begin to lose the interest and motivation that led you to take on a certain role in the first place. And that really resonated with me, because when I took on all these jobs, and even now when I take things on, it's not that I take them on like, and I don't want to. It's like I'm excited about these activities. I'm excited about these jobs. I'm excited about the opportunities that present themselves. And I've worked really, really hard on saying no. I was never good at saying no. And so even if it's something I didn't really want to do, I wasn't good at saying no because I'm a people pleaser. Um, if you haven't read the book The Best Yes by Lisa Turkhurst, I suggest reading that because that book really, really changed how I see my my yes answer, how important it is um to be protective of your yes. So go read that book if you haven't already and you are really bad at saying no. So check that out. But like I was saying, everything that I was doing, it was something that I wanted to do. It was something that I was interested in, but the stress of those things, because one, either the stress of the activity by itself could have been very stressful, but all of them put together that those jobs put on me, I felt like I couldn't keep up. I felt like I wasn't doing what I was supposed to be doing, and I couldn't keep up with what each job needed from me. Whether it be a boss saying, like, this costume isn't good enough, you need to redo it. Okay, I don't have the time to redo it, right? Or I don't have the energy, I don't have the creative juices flowing because I'm so tired. I don't have anything else, right? Or if it's like, "Hey, you need to take these students to this activity." Okay, cool. Like, is it during school? No. Okay, I've got to find coverage for all of my other jobs, right? So, all of those things, it burnout leads you to not be motivated to do those things anymore. And it got to the point where like I wanted to call in sick every day because I was so tired and they weren't enjoyable to me anymore. They were stressful. It was things that I used to enjoy that now became stressful. They became a burden. And that's what burnout does. It burns you out. Literally, it burns you out on the things you enjoy. Think of it as like the saying everything is good in moderation, right? Because if you think about food, you may love chocolate. I love chocolate. But if you eat chocolate at every meal, like in large amounts, right? You might love chocolate, but if you keep eating and eating and eating and eating chocolate, you're going to make yourself sick. You're going to make yourself so, so sick. It's going to be so unhealthy and your face is going to break out and you're not going to have enough energy. You're going to be sluggish. And then also your tummy might hurt, right? And then once you're sick of that chocolate, you may never want that. You don't want chocolate again, right? You might not ever want chocolate ever again. And that's what burnout does to you. Burnout can though affect your relationship with God. So not only does it affect your like social relationships, like when you're burnt out, you don't have time or the energy to go hang out with your friends, or the people at your job where you're burnt out at, like they, even though you enjoy your coworkers, because they're associated with your work, you could become tired of them and they're just like a symbol of like the stress that you feel, right? And burnout can also affect your relationship with the Lord. Talks about the importance of rest quite often. Even Jesus rested. Jesus would go and he would rest after giving like a sermon. He would kind of go off by himself and just rest and like refresh himself, right? He would go off and pray. Rested after creating the universe. He rested on the seventh day. Now, whatever you believe the day is in the Bible, whether it's like 7 literal days or whatever you believe, whichever whatever definition of day you want to give, he rested on the seventh one, right? He still rested. And so it's important for us to not burn ourselves out to where we're just completely useless, to where we just want to do nothing but lay down and watch TV. Because when we're burnt out, we miss out on what God is calling us to do. If we're so busy trying to meet the demands that we've put on ourselves or trying to meet the demands of um, an activity that we no longer have a passion for, then we're not giving ourselves the time even to hear what God wants for us, to hear God trying to refresh our passion for that thing, or hear God direct us in a new direction in our real passion and something that He has laid out for us. Because sometimes we're burning ourselves out on something that's not even meant for us. And that's where I was for a while. I definitely can burn myself out on things that I enjoy, but for a while I was burning myself out on things that really weren't meant for me. And that's why that can cause burnout too, is when you're trying to force things to go your way, or you're trying to force yourself into this industry or force yourself into this ministry you think you're called in, but you're not called to that. So you're working harder than you have to because you're working at a place, and I'm meaning metaphorically, not a literal job. You're working at a place that didn't hire you. You are working and struggling and not getting paid because that is not what God has laid out for you. So you're burning yourself out. You're wearing yourself out. You've lost all your energy and all your creativity and all of your strength on this thing that wasn't meant for you, when and then by the time you realize that God has something else for you, you're so tired, right? You don't have the motivation to do that thing. And I believe God can restore you and refresh you and heal you of that, but you have to let Him. So we can't hear His voice when we're burnt out. We can't hear it as well. I'll never say you can't hear His voice unless you're like living in intentional sin, right? And choosing not to. But we can't hear His voice as well because all we're thinking about is sleeping. Um, all of our energy is going toward the goal and expectations of the world rather than God's expectations. Even if you are in the ministry that God has called you to do, if you are listening to the world's expectations above God's, you're going to be burnt out so fast because we will never ever meet. We will never please everybody. We can please God. If we serve God and listen to Him, we will be pleasing to the Lord if we live an righteous life. But if we're trying to please the world, that will never happen. That it won't. Like it's impossible to do that. But it is possible, even though it seems impossible to please such a mighty and powerful God when we are born into sin. But if you are living the way God calls you to live, that is pleasing unto Him. So don't waste your time. Don't burn yourself out trying to please the world. Rest, work in the place God has you, and please the Lord instead. God will never call you to burn yourself out. He won't. So if you're feeling burnt out, then either you're not where He's calling you, or your priorities in what He's called you to do are very mixed up. He will never call you to burn out. He will never cause you to burn out. He is the one who restores our soul. He gives us strength. Our strength comes from the Lord. All of this is biblical. He will renew our strength like wings on eagles, right? He's not going to call us to burn out. Now he will call us to work hard. He will call us to put forth lots of effort, but He will not call us all the way to burnout. That is not biblical. That is not what God is calling you to do. So if you are feeling burnt out and you're like, well, this is just where I am, this is what God wants for me, this is my life, it's just burnt out, tired, no energy, no strength. That is not what God has for you. And I'm like, being so serious right now because I care about this so much. God wants you to rest. He wants you to be healthy and whole and thriving in what you do. So if you are burnt out, it is not of God. Whether you are in your calling or walking outside of your calling, it is not of God. He calls us to be committed and to work. We have to put forth work. But and He doesn't want us to be lazy. Laziness is not of God either. But He is a God of peace. He won't bring burnout upon us. He is a God of restoration. It is not necessarily going to be easy. Doesn't want us to get burnt out on His calling for us or on the mission He has for laid out for us. In fact, it can be considered disobedience to wear yourself out because you're wearing yourself out. You're not doing what He's calling you to do. You're not allowing yourself to put forth the energy that is needed in the right direction. Hebrews chapter 4 talks about rest a lot, chapters 3 and 4. And it talks about rest in the sense of Jesus is our rest, and that we don't have to do works to be saved. Like faith versus works, right? There's no work that we can do to be saved. All we have to do to be saved is believe in Jesus and live for Jesus and let him be our savior. That's all we have to do. That is the rest that God is calling us to do. And I think it applies to our like daily lives as well. We are meant to work. We are created to work. We're created to serve the Lord, right? And we do that through our jobs, through our daily lives, through what we do, through taking care of ourselves and others. But our works do not save us. So if we're trying to work all the time to please the Lord, if we're trying to work to make us look like um, strong Christians because we do this, and this, that's not it. That's not right. We're called to rest, and we're called to that rest is salvation in Jesus. I just want to read this for you a little bit. Keep in mind that it's talking about uh, leading the Israelites into the promised land because the ones out of Egypt were disobedient. They did not find that rest, enter into the rest of God because they were disobedient. And so we're talking about how we can enter that rest because of Jesus. In chapter 4, verse 4. For he has spoken in a certain place of the seventh day in this way, and God rested on the seventh day from all his works. And again in this place they shall not enter my rest. Since therefore it remains that some must enter it, and those whom it was first preached did not enter because of disobedience, again he designates a certain day, saying in David, Today, after such a long time, as it has been said, Today, if you will hear his voice, do not harden your hearts. For if Joshua had given them rest, then he would not afterward have spoken of another day. So Joshua, even them entering into the promised land, was not the rest that he was talking about. Jesus is the rest that he was ultimately talking about. Yes, they had rest from the wilderness, but it's not that ultimate rest. So I'm going to go on. I'm going to verse 9. There remains therefore a rest for the people of God, that is Jesus. For he who has entered his rest has himself also ceased from his works as God did from his. Let us therefore be diligent to enter that rest, meaning living for Jesus, asking Jesus into our hearts, lest anyone fail according to the same example of disobedience. So we are not called to wander around in the wilderness. We're burnt out, we're wandering around in the wilderness. We're searching for something that we do or something, someone that we're working for or working with to lift us up, to give us that strength back, to get our promotion in our job, whatever it is, when really we're just wearing ourselves out because nothing in this world can give us what Jesus gives us, and that is the ultimate rest. Rest knowing that job is to please the Lord and he will guide our steps. He will tell us which direction to go, and he will never call us to be burnt out. Real quickly, I want to briefly talk about how to identify if you are burnt out, if this is something you are feeling. This is coming from personal experience, and some of it is from that helpguide.org. Personal experience and scientific. Number one, you're irritable and find yourself more frustrated with the things you used to love, which we talked about. You're starting to get really annoyed or really tired of or less passionate about the things you love. You have brain fog. That's guys, that's me like all the time. And I have to pray through it because I get brain fog so often because I go, 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 go. And I'm slowly learning how to cut back on these things that are just not benefiting me. Something that maybe I enjoyed doing, but God is calling me to rest from it, not meaning I'm stepping away completely. But anyway, brain fog. You feel overwhelmed even in the small tasks. When even the idea of just like taking a shower overwhelms you because you don't have the strength to get up off the couch and walk to the shower, like I've been there. that that is burnout, right? Small tasks, or whether it's a tiny task in your job and you're just like, "Oh my gosh, I can't write one more email," right? You're physically tired. Like I said, my body was so physically tired that it was started like it told me, it made itself sick to tell me to stop, right? Getting sick more often or very easily, feeling like you're not yourself. Guys, I went through kind of like years of not feeling like myself. And I think it was because, or I know it was because I was burning myself out. I didn't allow time to do the things that I enjoyed, like reading or just singing for fun. Like instead of singing for my job, singing for fun, going outside and just chilling outside, whatever it is for you, like whatever makes you feel like yourself, you're not doing those things. You aren't motivated. You're having more bad days than good days. Guys, if you're at a place where you feel like every day is a bad day, then you're burnt out. You need rest. You need to step back and take a look at all the things on your plate and see what you can cut because you are burnt out. You should not be having more bad days than good days. You feel underappreciated, whether it's in your family or whether you're doing all this work. You feel like you're doing all this work and it's not being appreciated at work or whatever it is with your friends. You're less productive. You become more cynical. I went through that. I went through that. I feel like hardcore, where I was just cynical and mad like all the time. I'm a very happy person. I'm a very happy go lucky person, and this goes back to the idea of not feeling like yourself. I went through a phase where just I wasn't my happy go lucky self. I wasn't my smiley, like happy self. And I was pretty cynical. And because I was burnt out, you feel like your relationship with God is suffering or put on the back burner. Guys, that that's the biggest one. If anything, if there is anything in your life that is getting in the way of your relationship with God, it needs to be gone. It needs to be handled. You begin to resent your job or whatever it is that causing you burnout. If you used to love this thing but you're burnt out, you're going to resent it. You're not going to be happy there anymore. You're going to go into work every day or go into that activity every day feeling like, "Oh, I need a new job. I just want to be done. I don't want to be here." That's not a place you want to be. So, those are some ways to identify if you are burnt out. If you are feeling, I would say, one of those things, one or more, take a look. Now, maybe I should say more than one. Maybe I should give grace a little bit because everybody has some things. But honestly, those if you're feeling like several of those, then you need to take a look at your life and what your energy is going to. All right, so maybe you're not burnt out right now, but you maybe are working that way. How do we avoid burnout? Again, this is coming from personal experience and just some research. So, one, and my husband taught me this, and it is the best lesson I've ever learned. Be protective of your time. Be overly protective of your time. Like I said earlier in the episode, be protective of your yes. That's the same thing. Be protective of your time. Be very picky in what you commit your time to. Don't just say yes to every little thing and cram something into every minute of your schedule. Protect your time. It is sacred, right? We only have so much time on this earth, and we actually don't know how much time we have on this earth. We may have less than we think we do. Be protective of your time. Number two, find joy in your work, even if your job is not your passion. You may be working a desk job and your passion is like being outdoors and in nature. So your job is not your passion. That is okay. I don't believe that everybody's job is necessarily their passion and necessarily what they're called to do. A lot of people it is, but not everybody. Not everybody, like your ministry is not like you can be a minister to people in your job, and that can be a ministry, but like not everybody's job is their calling. Does that make sense? So, but to avoid being burnt out on the job that you have right now, the job that is providing for your family, find small things that you enjoy. Maybe you have a coworker that you really like talking to or working on projects with. Work on more projects with that coworker, right? Or maybe you really enjoy like creating a schedule and be the schedule creator of your job. Whatever it is, like find things about your job that you like, even if it is not your passion, or incorporate your passion into that job. Be creative. This is something I do all the time. Like I find ways to bring what I enjoy and what I love into how can I incorporate this into whatever I'm doing, right? Number three, find a little purpose in everything you do. Everything you do. And remind yourself of the why. Find purpose in every why are you cleaning your house? Well, because we're meant to take care of our bodies, we're meant to take care of our homes. Women are meant to like care of the home, right? And I'm not saying men aren't, men are too, but are you doing that? And then remind yourself of the why. That God shows you what things to take on. When I was taking on those 4 and 5 jobs, I was not doing them prayerfully necessarily. I just took them and I paid for it. I was so sick and so tired. I paid for it. So enter into all of these tasks prayerfully. He will show you if you are earnestly seeking Him and seeking His guidance on this. He will show you what to take on and what not to. And sometimes, in my experience, and this is how the Lord is with me a lot of times, I think, some things it's okay. It doesn't matter. The Lord's okay. Okay, either is fine. And so don't put that stress on yourself to always pick the exact perfect one because sometimes there is no exact perfect one, but sometimes there is, and sometimes you have to say no. And if you earnestly seek Him, He will tell you which ones to say no to. God's will first. That is the most important thing. Put His will first. Like I said, enter into these things prayerfully. Ask for help before you get overwhelmed. At work, if you take on this project or you're assigned this project and then you're looking at your schedule and you're like, I'm not sure how I'm going to be able to do this, don't start it without asking for help. Ask for help before you even start that project, right? Before you go under, before you start sinking, be like, hey, can I get some floaties for this thing, right? Ask for help before you get overwhelmed. Very last thing I want to talk about today. I feel like I've been talking really fast. I'm sorry, guys, if I am talking really fast. It's just how I am today, I guess. I'm in the mood. I'm in a fast mood today. But this last thing I want to talk about is how to heal if you have been experiencing burnout. How do you get out of it and how do you heal from it? First and foremost, pray and give it to God. Let go of all of these things. Let go of the control that little bit of control you think you still might have, because burnout kind of feels like a loss of control. But let go of all those things and give it to God. I'm not saying quit your job. I'm not saying drop the ball on important projects necessarily. But let go of the stress. Pray for strength and guidance and give all of those situations to the Lord, and He will take care of them. Reduce the stress in your life, right? That goes with letting them go. Some things we can cut and some things we can't. So you need to be prayerfully looking, okay, how do I reduce the stress? Things can I not cut? What things do I just have to do? And what things can I let go of? Exercise. This is one that I think is overlooked a lot because talking at it from like a Christian worldview and like, but exercise is important, you know? Exercise is scientifically proven to boost your mood, right? That's how God built us. So it's not like unbiblical to be like exercise is a way to help yourself, right? No, it most certainly is. I think that's how God made us. He made us to be our bodies to be taking we need to take care of our bodies, right? He made our bodies to be fit and strong. We have to put in the work to do that. Exercise also releases stress. It creates those like happy endorphins, right? Exercise is super super important. So if you don't have the time to exercise, like tr- cut something and then make time to exercise, right? Or get up a little earlier in the morning or exercise at lunch. It doesn't have to be like an hour at the gym. Like, absolutely not. Do some stretches. Whatever like helps you strengthen your body and release that stress. Do it. Evaluate your priorities. I had to quit some jobs. I had to reduce my student numbers. When I took on this new job, I had to let go of a lot of students and I hated it. Like I absolutely hated it. In tears a little bit about having to let go of certain students. But I even took a whole year off teaching because I needed that. And I came back to teaching because that's my passion. I feel like that's what God called me to do, but I was burnt out. I had been burnt out on like time commitments and also burnt out on just some other things that came with that job. Needed to step back all the way and take a whole year off of teaching in the classroom, reevaluate my priorities. And then I was able to step back into the classroom, but then that meant I had to reduce my private students. So there's always that balance, right? And I'm learning that I can't do everything and that I'm not a bad human being for drawing my boundaries and learning what I can balance and what I can't. It's not always easy to like step back and do, to let go, to reevaluate, to cut things in your life because the people who tend to get burnt out the most or more often are the ones who are loyal, who are committed, who pleasers, right? They're hardworking. It's hard to admit that we need less on our plate. So don't feel like you are less of a person. Don't feel like you're not a good person or you're not loyal or you're not a hard worker. If you have to cut some things, that's just being human. And actually, it's being a responsible human because that's you admitting, I cannot do this task well. Therefore, I have to cut it out so that I can do other things well. That's being responsible. Schedule some downtime too. Give yourself time to heal. Schedule that in. Build it into your schedule. Learn to say no. And then the last one, reflect on why these things are burning you out. Okay, so say you've identified you're burnt out. This is what's burning me out. This is how I feel. Okay, why are you burnt out on that? What caused your burnout? Is it because you didn't like your job? Or is it because you didn't feel qualified or something like that? Or is it because you love something? Is it something you love, but you feel unsupported in your job, right? Is it something that, like, are you letting people take advantage of you? Pressure coming from other people, or is it coming from yourself? What is the root cause of the burnout? No matter what area you are burnt out on, reflect on those things. Where is it rooted in? Where is that stress coming from? Where is that pressure coming from? Is it inward pressure? Is it someone you're working with? Is it you feeling imposter syndrome and feel like you can't live up to the standards? Do you feel like you would be less valuable if you weren't doing all of these things? And I think that's where a lot of people are. I think that people think, well, I've been doing this, so if I don't do them anymore, then I'm not I'm not as valuable as I was. That's not true. That is a lie from the enemy because you are going to be the most valuable where God has meant you to be. That is where you're going to be the most valuable to his kingdom and to your job and to your family and to yourself. Your worth in the Lord. I hope this episode encouraged you. I hope that you learned something from it. And if you are feeling burnout, I pray that the Lord helps you identify that and gives you the strength to cut some things out of your life and reprioritize the things in your life. So much for joining me today. If you liked this episode, please give it a like. Comment down below on some things that maybe you've been burnt out on, or some of your experiences. I would love to hear from you. I love hearing feedback from you guys or hearing what resonated with you. I just think it builds those bonds in the Lord when we talk about things and experiences that we have experienced mutually. So leave a comment, leave a like, share this episode if you know somebody who could benefit from learning about burnout. I pray that you guys have a lovely, lovely week. Now go out there and shine.